Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 15th of October and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In the today's video, we'll discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We'll see the articles with the background as well as the way forward. Fine. And moreover, you can also download the explainer PDF of this entire video. In this PDF, you will find the notes of all the articles that we are going to discuss. This PDF can be accessed from the Telegram channel and the link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box. Moreover, you can visit Telegram and you can search there by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil. There you will get it. Also, the mains practice question has also been given. Now, before moving on, first of all, let's discuss the overview of the entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are actually important for the today's discussion. So, in the overview, guys, first we can see that the Himachal elections have been announced on the November 12, Gujarat on hold for now. So basically, the election schedule has been announced by the Election Commission. Fine, after a few days, the Gujarat will also be announced. Then moving on, 8 years after arrest, High Court acquits former DU professor in UAPA case. So guys, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act under basically the arrest was made. However, for examination, much of substance is not there in the article. Then moving on, this particular article, will electoral bonds reveal the source of funds? So this particular article is important for the GS paper number 2. We'll see this particular article. Then guys, again moving on, the articles are not very much important for the examination. Then the advertisements etc. have been given. Okay, moving on guys. Moving on in this particular direction, much important things are not there. However, here in the regional section, eco-sensitive zone issue of the Kerala has been mentioned. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. Fine, Haryana, Punjab CMs failed to reach consensus on SYL Canal Row. Now guys, when we talk about the states, in the states there are the different disputes. Sometimes there are the river disputes, sometimes there are the disputes onto the territories and all such kind of a thing. So SYL is the Satluj Yamuna link canal. Okay, now this SYL canal is to be constructed. Okay, now on that particular thing, Punjab and Haryana is having a dispute from such a long time. However, nothing concrete has come in this particular direction, so no need to follow this particular thing. Fine. Then moving on, after that, we will simply be moving to the editorial page because before that nothing much is important. Do not ignore the role of the women livestock farmer. So a very important article with respect to the role of the women in the in the livestock, in the animal husbandry. Okay, then Indian deep tech and a case of strategic fund. So this particular article guys, again a very good and a very kind of a fresh take has been taken on GS paper number 3 related issues. We'll see this entire issue. No time for placebo. So guys, this particular article, it is talking about the recent issue where there was the poisoning by one of a cough syrup that happened. So in that particular direction, some issues will be discussing. Then smash hit. So this article talks about the NASA's DART attack that has been there. The macabre murders in Elantur village. Now not important article for the UPSC. It is a ground zero article where the personal details, ground reportings have been done on that particular issue. No need to go too much in that. Then after that guys, the political issues etc. have been given. Okay, now so moving on, you don't need to go into this particular thing. So the basically Sai Baba's acquittal and all those kind of things have been mentioned. So for UPSC, not needed. These are the politically inclined issues that we have. Okay, then plea to study shivling rejected. So the Gyanvapi issue is going on. Okay guys, now see this Gyanvapi mosque issue etc. you don't need to follow because it has become a kind of a political issue and it is still under the sub judice. So you don't need to track the developments on this Gyanvapi case that is happening day by day. Moreover, in our examination also, such kind of issues, such kind of things are not asked. Then INS Arihant carries out the missile attack, missile strike test. So this is a very good article. We'll understand the nuclear triad and all such kind of things. Global Hunger Index has been released. So we'll see the India's ranking, what are the parameters and all such kind of things will be seen. Okay, moving on. India, China agree to more military talks to resolve LAC issue. So guys, recently we have seen that there was some success that came in the India-China LAC talks that happened on the patrolling point number 15. There was the pullback. Okay, and encouraged by such kind of a development, more such round of talks will be held. Okay, then moving on. Okay, so basically guys, on the world page, okay, so basically the internal politics in the UK, Okay, Putin says he doesn't see need for talk to with Biden. So this Russia-Ukraine crisis, and in that the role that the USA is playing, all these things are provided. However, guys, for the examination, academic policy related issue, foreign policy related things are not there. So I'll not advise you to go too much in this particular article. Not important for the examination. These are the day-to-day political developments that are there. Okay, India's policies must aid its bright spot forecast. Okay, now guys, basically if you remember, we have seen that the IMF, and before the IMF, few days back, the World Bank, they have given the growth forecast for the India, and these particular growth forecast of India, they have been impacted because of the inflation, because of the declining rupee, because of the inflationary pressure in the global arena also, and because of the exports of the India that got impacted. So basically, as this particular thing is happening, we need to correct the policies, we need to take some kind of a policy measure, so such kind of derailment into the India's growth rate don't happen. Is it clear or not? Okay, fine. So basically the growth forecast of 6.8% was given in financial year 22-23, and 6.1% growth was projected in financial 23-24 by the IMF. But I have told you many number of times, you don't need to remember these growth forecast too much. Reason being that these forecasts depend on the present economic condition. As the economic conditions, the inflation, India's export performance, and global inflationary pressure will change, these particular numbers will change. Okay, so you don't need to remember them. Okay, by the time your exam will come, they'll be completely be changed. Then guys, after moving on, risky to lift repo rate above neutral when growth fragile. Okay, now you see this particular thing, that if you remember, we have seen repeatedly, even day before yesterday, we have taken one particular article that inflation is actually high for this entire year. Okay, and inflation is above the 6% range that has been decided. Now when the inflation comes, what happens? The central bank comes out with the tight monetary policy, and a part of the tight monetary policy, what is done? The repo rate is increased. Okay, so that is a way to tackle the inflation. But right now, if you see, the growth is also a kind of an issue. Growth is fragile. So we see that basically the growth is also an issue. Now when in this particular scenario, fiscal stimulus is given. Okay, and the fiscal stimulus will go against the inflation control measures. Fine, so this is actually a very sticky and a confusing situation that is there. Okay, then moving on. Fine, Tata Power hit by cyber attack, India-UK trade deal to miss the Deepavali deadline. Okay, so basically free trade agreement is being negotiated between the India and UK, but now there are certain issues. Okay, then moving on, exports grew by 4.8%, month by month data is not important. Okay, then we have the sports page. So this is guys the overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles that are academically important for our examination one by one in the detail. Let's start with the first article. Now before that, we take in every class a GS quotation which can be used in one of our papers. So today we'll take the quotation from Mahatma Gandhi ji. So Gandhi ji says that the greatness of humanity is not in being human but in being humane. Now understand, being human, okay, it is just a biological trait. It is just a biological trait. Okay, so existence, it is not just sufficient, but a moral existence is something that is needed. And how the moral existence will come? It will come by changing the character, by becoming humane. So being humane, it is an attribute of character, and by being humane, empathy comes, compassion comes, and that empathy and compassion is needed to bring justice. It is needed to bring the welfare of the society. So just don't be human, be humane. Develop the character, develop the virtues, develop a mindset of empathy and compassion. Now this particular quotation can be used very effectively in the GS paper number 4 ethics. GS paper number 4 ethics, value inculcation. Okay, so that is all about it. And now let's take the first article. Okay, so the first article that we'll be discussing, it is about the Global Hunger Index 2022 that has been released. So all the issues with respect to the Global Hunger Index we'll see here. Now this particular article, first of all, will be important in GS paper number 2. It will be important in actually both GS paper number 1 and GS paper number 2, GS paper number 1 and GS paper number 2 within the social justice, and directly the issues of hunger has been mentioned. Issues of hunger has been mentioned directly in GS paper number 1 as well as 2. So there we'll see that. Now, basically guys, before going in this particular article, I'll give you little bit of the value addition content. So when we talk about the India happens to be one of the largest food manufacturer. India has the world's largest net sown area, okay. By that particular thing, we becomes the world's largest producer of food. At the same time, India is running world's largest food security program, that is the National Food Security Act 2013. Under the National Food Security Act 2013, subsidized food grains are to be provided. 3 rupees kg rice, 2 rupees kg wheat and 1 rupees coarse grains are to be provided. Okay, 5 kg of food grain per individual. 5 kg of food grain per individual are to be provided. However, there are some of the poorest of the poor households. Poorest of the poor households are called as Antyodaya Anyojana households. Antyodaya Anyojana households. They are provided a flat entitlement of 35 kg of food per household. Okay, so guys, under the National Food Security Act, two type of entitlements are given. Poor households, they are given 5 kg per individual, and poorest of the poor, Antyodaya Anyojana household, they are given 35 kg per family. Okay, so this is something. Now, this National Food Security Act, it provides the food as a matter of guarantee, food as a matter of right. 50% people in urban areas, 75% people in rural areas, and on the pan India level, 66% people on the pan India level are to be covered. Fine. So we are one of the biggest food producer. We run the world's largest food guarantee program, but still on the global hunger index, the situation is not very much good. Now, guys, when we talk about the global hunger index, just a minute. When we talk about the global hunger index, understand this particular thing, that in the global hunger index, how first of all, what is calculated? So it is actually based on the 4 components. Global hunger index, it is based on to the 4 components. It sees number 1, undernourishment. Undernourishment means, basically guys, see this thing, that there is first of all food intake, okay, and then there is calorie requirement, okay. For example, I require 2000 calorie per day, but I am able to get only 1000 calories. Okay, so what will be the situation? Situation will be of undernourishment. So if you are able to get the calorie which you require biologically, fine. If you are able to not to get that, then there will be the situation of undernourishment. After that, there is the child stunting, that is seen. Now, what is child stunting? Child stunting is measured as height to age. It is measured as height to age. Now, guys, for a specific age, specific height needs to be there, but sometimes children, they don't have the height corresponding to a particular age, and in that particular thing, the role is played because the adequate nutrition, adequate food is not being given. Is it clear or not? Then the next is the child wasting. Now, what is child wasting? Child wasting is weight to age. Okay, so for a particular age, a particular weight is needed. If it's not there, it is child wasting. And then there is child mortality. Okay, the number of children, dying before the age of 5, that is child mortality. Okay, on the basis of these 4 parameters, the countries are divided in 5 categories. Okay, the countries which are the countries which are having low hunger, countries having moderate hunger, serious hunger, alarming hunger, and extremely alarming hunger. In these 5 categories, the countries are divided. Okay. Now, guys, when we talk about the global hunger index, who basically releases the global hunger index? Okay. So basically, global hunger index, it is released by the European NGOs, that is the Concern Worldwide and Wealth Hunger Life. Okay. So it is released by fine. Just a minute. I hope it is visible. So it is released by Concern Worldwide and Wealth Hunger Life. Okay, they released the Global Hunger Index. Fine. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Global Hunger Index. So, basically, in this particular index, the countries are ranked on a scoring parameter. So, Global Hunger Index is calculated on a 100-point scale, where there is, if there is a 0 means best. It means that the hunger is very much less or no hunger. And if there is a score of 100, score of 100 means worst. So, countries need to have as less number as possible. Now, what is the India's ranking this particular year? So, guys, India ranks at 107 out of 121 countries. Previous year, India's rank was 101. Okay, so 107 out of 121 countries, and it has performed worst than most of the South Asian countries. Just Afghanistan is more poor performer than us. India's score is around 29.1, and therefore India comes in the serious category. Okay, so if you see here, serious category, India comes here. Now, at the same time, if we talk about the neighbors of the India, they have performed actually better than India. For example, the rank of Sri Lanka is 64, Nepal is 81, Bangladesh is 84, even Pakistan's rank is 99, okay, and India's rank is 107. So, this is something which is really alarming. Now, when we talk about some of the certain specific parameters of the child nutrition, so guys, number one, the child wasting, that is low weight for height, okay, it is at 19.3%, and actually it is poor than the past year's performance. So if we talk about the data from 2014, it was 15.1%, less number of children were wasted, and now it has increased to 19.3%. In 2007 also, okay, it was 17.15%. So basically here, if you just analyze, if we analyze, is there the pandemic that had played an important role, played a role here? Because that could be the reason. Then the prevalence of undernourishment, which is a measure of proportion of population facing chronic deficiency of dietary energy intake. So I already told you that if you are not able to get the proper calorie requirement for a day, that it is a situation of undernourishment. Now it has also increased. So 14.6% people were facing the undernourishment in 2018-20. Now it has increased to around 16.3%. Okay, what it means? It means that 224 million people are undernourished today. But at the same time, there are certain improvements also that has happened. For example, child stunting, it has declined from around 38.7% to 35.5%, okay, between 2014-22. And child mortality, it has also dropped from 4.6% to 3.3% in this particular period. So basically, guys, when we talk about India's performance, it's not encouraging in the backdrop that we are giving so much of the big guarantees, big entitlements. Even the article number 21, right to life, is the fundamental right. Article number 21, fine, right to life is a fundamental right. Okay, so this is, guys, all about this particular article, and I'm telling you very clearly that beyond whatever we have discussed here, you don't need to go beyond that for the sake of our examination. So all the dimensions and everything we have discussed here. Now we'll move to the next article. Eco-sensitive zone, Supreme Court, top court may take up the Kerala review. Now this particular article, guys, will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, okay, that is the development versus environment, even in GS paper number 2, social justice issues also, there will be the application of this particular article. Now these kind of articles actually are the case studies. These kind of articles are the case study articles which can be used as a reference in your GS answers. And understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the GS answers, there whether they'll be able to fetch marks or not, it depends that how many dimensions, keywords, judgments, reports, case studies you are putting there. So this particular case study can be used. I'll explain you how. Now before going in this particular article, guys, this article is talking about a present development, but we need to see the background. If we don't know the background, then we'll not be able to understand that what this particular issue is all about. So this background I have provided you here in the notes also, and I'll explain you also. Now, what's the background? So basically, guys, few months back, that is in the month of June, the Supreme Court came out with a significant ruling And in this particular ruling, Supreme Court provided that all the protected areas, the protected forest, the national parks, okay, the protected reserves, okay, around them 1 kilometer zone, around them the 1 kilometer zone should be reserved as eco-sensitive zone. It should be reserved as eco-sensitive zone. And in this 1 kilometer area, the developmental activities, mining activities, habitations should not be allowed. If any habitations are there, people are to be relocated to somewhere else. Supreme Court has provided that this 1 kilometer of eco-sensitive zone, it will act as a shock absorber. Okay, so basically if you see in between, just a minute, if you see in between, it is a protected forest or a protected reserve. It has the highest protection, and then as will come to the outside, there will be no protection. So this transition zone is very much needed for the environmental conservation, for the conservation of flora, fauna, and the species, which are many of them are facing even the threat of extinction and degradation. So this is something that happened. Now guys, at the same time, as this thing has happened, Kerala is in a very unique kind of a situation. Why? Now, if you have seen the map of the Kerala, guys, large part of the Kerala, it is not habitable. Why? Because of the Western Ghats that are there, streams are there, rich ecology that is there. Now, when we talk about, guys, Kerala, I'll give you just some of the numbers so that you can understand this particular issue in more better way. So, 30% of the Kerala is forested land. Then Western Ghat occupies 48% of the state. Okay, so 30% is forested, Western Ghats 48%, so around 78% is densely forested region in the Kerala. Then after that, there are the lakes, then there are the canals, wetlands, then there is a very long coastline, and all these coastlines, now when the coastal regions are there, coastal regulation zone will apply. When the wetlands are there, again on the wetland, basically many of the wetlands are protected also under the Ramsar Convention. So there also many of the norms will apply. So actually guys, there are large number of environmental conservation protection legislations which apply to the Kerala. And actually the Kerala's population of around 3.5 crore people, they have very less space to live, very less usable habitable spaces there. Okay, and therefore if guys we talk about the population density in the Kerala, it is highest in the entire country. So basically 900 per square kilometer, 900 persons are living per square kilometer. This is the above national average population density. So basically population pressure or the demographic pressure on the available land is already very much high in the state. And now as it is being said that 1 kilometer zone is to be reserved as an economic zone, and at the same time you might be knowing that there is a large number of protected areas into the Kerala. So basically even the usable habitable space of the Kerala will shrink, it will go down. So Kerala has a kind of a problem with this particular thing. Kerala has also said that it will lead to the displacement of the people, and scheduled tribe families, okay, forest dwellers, they will also be displaced. Now I just want to give you an extra reference here. Okay, so you might have heard the name of the Forest Right Act 2006. Forest Right Act 2006. Under this particular act, the forest dwellers and the tribals, they have been provided the rights. They have been land rights, community rights have been provided to them. Now by coming of this particular notification, what will happen? They have to be displaced if they are living around the forest. So this is a violation of their right that will happen. Now because this particular thing happened, so guys, this is the entire background that happened, okay, not there in this particular article. So this is something that happened into the past. Now guys, after this development, what happened? The Kerala State Assembly, they passed a resolution and they asked the central government that please exclude the state's human habitations, farmlands and public institutions from the purview of ecologically sensitive zone definition that was recently notified by the Supreme Court. So please give them a kind of an exception. Don't apply that 1 kilometer limit on them. Okay, so guys, the Kerala requested central government, and central government has raised this particular matter in the Supreme Court, and now the Supreme Court had said that okay, we'll hear this particular case and we'll see that whether an exception can be given to the Kerala or not. So Supreme Court had said to the Environment Ministry that the national parks, sanctuaries, okay, they function as a shock absorber, they are important, they need to be preserved, but will consider the review Kerala's case. And it will be decided. So guys, as of now nothing has come, but over the coming days this particular matter, as it will be decided, we'll see that. Now basically this particular issue becomes a kind of a classic case study between the development and the environment. So on one hand, the environmental protection is being suggested by the Supreme Court that you should reserve 1 kilometer strip, and but at the same time how the developmental activities will be carried. Moreover, environment versus social justice, you guys see this particular thing, environment versus tribal rights are coming in conflict, as we have seen that the Forest Right Act 2006, which has given the land rights to the tribal people, forest dwellers, that will get impacted. So this is a kind of a dilemma. How this dilemma is to be resolved? This dilemma is to be resolved by it is to be resolved by the far-sightedness, it is to be resolved by the inclusiveness. Okay, so basically a critical take on this particular issue is very much required. That is all about this particular article. Fine, I hope that you have understood this entire issue. Okay, and now guys, we'll be moving to the next article. Okay, so guys, this particular article, it is a very important article for the science and technology. It is very important article for the science and technology, GS paper number 3. Now first of all, I'll tell you the context of this particular article, and then we'll move and we'll understand what this issue is, what this phenomena is. So basically guys, what this article is talking about, this article is talking about the DART mission of the NASA that was recently announced. Okay, now first of all, let's understand that what is this DART mission and why this article has come in the news, and what are the implications on the future by this particular DART mission. Now basically guys, first of all, you focus on this particular picture. Okay, before that I'll tell you one more even basic concepts. Guys, you might have heard these words, that is the comet. You might have heard these words, that is the comet, asteroid, meteoroid. Okay, meteor is there, and then meteorite is there. Okay, let's discuss that what do we understand by them, and then we'll move into the article. So basically guys, first of all, comet. What is a comet? Comet is simply a chunk of ice, or basically a rock around which the ice is there, and it is originating into the outer solar system. Okay, it is originating around the Pluto and even beyond the planet Pluto. Now guys, when we talk about the Pluto, now the Pluto is not the part of the solar system, it has been excluded. Okay, so outer solar system, okay, these rock pieces are originating. Now guys, when they approach towards the sun, what happens? The ice that is there on these particular rocks, this particular ice will evaporate, and therefore there will be a kind of a tail-like structure that will be observed. Tail-like structure. Now what is this tail? It is nothing but the ice that is evaporating because of the solar because of the sun, okay, solar insolation. Because of that, the ice, the tail appears. So this is a comet, a chunk of ice and rock originating in outer space. Then there is asteroid. Now what is asteroid? Asteroid, these are the rocks that are orbiting between the Mars and Jupiter. So between Mars and Jupiter, there are a huge number of asteroids, big chunks, okay, which they are orbiting around the Earth. Now guys, sometimes then there is also the word meteoroid that is also heard. Now what is a meteoroid? Meteoroid is a space rock that is bigger than a dust grain but smaller than an asteroid. Okay, so the meteoroid, these are the chunks of the rocks bigger than the grain of dust but smaller than the asteroid. Okay, now many times they also deviate towards the Earth. Towards the Earth, and then we get two other terminologies, that is the meteor and meteorite. Now meteor and meteorite are different. Okay, now guys, understand this particular thing. Basically what happens, okay, basically sometimes we see this particular thing, that there is the falling star. Now what is a falling star? Sometimes there is some kind of a there is some kind of a rock that enters into the Earth's atmosphere. Now when it will enter the Earth's atmosphere, that particular rock, it will burn because of the friction, because of the frictional heat that will be generated, and because of that frictional heat and because of that burning, it will look like as a falling star. So that is the meteor, the rock that has entered the Earth's atmosphere. Then guys, see, most of the times these rocks are burnt completely in the atmosphere because of the frictional heat, but sometimes these rocks are big enough, and even after the burning, some leftover falls on the Earth. Therefore, it is then called as the meteorite. So understand, if it is burnt completely, it is a meteor, but if it has reached the Earth, a fragment or a small piece, then it is meteorite. Okay, so I hope that you have understood all of them, and even in the notes I had given you this particular table, and in this particular table all these definitions have been provided. Fine. Now just I want to give you guys one kind of an analogy. Basically 66 million years ago, you might be knowing this particular thing already, that 75% of all the species onto the Earth, they got wiped out. Why it got wiped out? Because guys, an asteroid got deflected towards the Earth, and it was a 10 to 15 kilometer big asteroid in terms of the diameter. It got deflected towards the Earth, it impacted the Earth, and the dinosaurs and 75% of the Earth species got wiped out. Because of this rock, that the asteroid that hit the Earth, there were the giant tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, thick dust clouds that formed. Okay, these dust clouds basically restricted the sunlight reaching to the Earth. So this is something that happened in the past. Now guys, what is the guarantee that if it has happened in the past, it will not happen now? Okay, so guys, if we talk about, if few hundred meters wide rock also impact the Earth directly, it can destroy a city as big as Chennai. Okay, so therefore there is a possibility that in future also such meteoroid, such asteroid, or such big rock can deflect towards the world, our Earth. So therefore we need to be ready. Now guys, therefore a kind of a technology demonstrator mission has been carried by NASA. Now what NASA has done, first of all, we'll understand that, and then we'll see the implication. Now guys, when we talk about the NASA has recently launched the spacecraft, and the name of this particular spacecraft was DART. Now DART stands for Double Asteroid Redirection Test, and this particular DART, double asteroid redirection test, it was aimed at a 160 meter wide asteroid Dimorphos, which was orbiting a larger asteroid, that is Didymos. Now they were both circling the sun, okay, and they were around 11.2 million kilometers away from the Earth. Now guys, see, these details are not important, that these many million kilometer away, this much meter wide is there. Just to explain you the thing in the context, we are understanding it. Now let's come to this picture. Now let's come to this particular picture. So this Didymos, just a minute. So this Didymos, it is a giant asteroid, okay, and this Didymos, okay, around the Didymos, this Dimorphos, this is another asteroid which is orbiting it. Now what happened? This particular DART mission, it directly made an impact on this particular Dimorphos rock, Dimorphos asteroid at a particular angle, and by that particular thing, what happened? The orbit of this particular Dimorphos, it got shifted. So this white one, it was the earlier original orbit, and after the impact, it got shifted. This is the new orbit that has been formed. Now this particular application is very much important, because guys, in the future, if any asteroid, if any rock is deflected towards the Earth, that particular rock's path, that particular asteroid's path, its trajectory could be changed by this particular DART mission. As of now, this Dimorphos or Didymos, they did not had any they did not had any issue, or there is no probability that they would have made an impact on Earth. But to demonstrate the technology, NASA has carried this particular mission. Okay. Now, when we talk about, guys, this Dimorphos and Didymos, neither body would have come closer than 6.4 kilometer of the Earth in their entire lifetime. So they did not pose any threat. However, the DART mission that has been carried, okay, it test mission to see if this technique known as a kinetic impactor would give necessary nudge to an asteroid or not. Okay, we would have to see that, okay, whether we can do it or not. And yesterday the NASA has confirmed, that its orbit got changed. Earlier the orbit was being completed in 11 hours and 55 minutes. Now the orbit is getting completed in 11 hours and 23 minutes. Number is not that much important, but we are just seeing that visible impact has been there, observation has been made by the NASA. Is it clear or not? Now basically this kinetic impact technique where a impact was made, it is also called as the kick method. Okay. Now when we talk about the dart is very small when compared to this particular rock Dimorphos, on which it has made an impact, but at such a huge speed it has made an impact that it has really changed its orbital path. So therefore it's something big, it's something very much important. Now when we talk about this particular DART mission, this DART mission carried some of the important payloads. What payloads it carried? Number one, it carried a high resolution Draco camera, that is the Didymos reconnaissance asteroid camera. Okay, then it had a toaster sized, okay, Italian space agency built light Italian CubeSat for imaging of the asteroid Licia cube. Now what this Licia cube was to study the impact and aftermath of that particular impact. Okay, so the Licia cube and the Draco camera was there on this particular payload. Okay, now when we talk about by this particular DART mission, USA has demonstrated their capabilities, but at the same time China is also testing the similar kind of a capability. Now guys, China will deflect a 40-meter diameter earth crossing asteroid 2020 PN1, which might be impacting around 2026. So China will deflect that. So China is also working on this particular technology. Now this particular technology, as I told you already, it can have a very big implication for the humanity, because by this thing, if any asteroid is coming around the earth, we can deflect it. Okay, so guys, I explained you that asteroid, these are the rocks that are between the Mars and Jupiter. Sometimes some of them, they get deflected from their path and they get attracted towards the India. Now this particular DART technique, or this kick method, or this DART mission, and the technology that it has demonstrated, that is the kick method, it has some of other usages also, that is the space mining. Now what is space mining? Guys, understand this particular thing, that today we talk a lot about the rare earth materials. Now rare earth materials are needed for the high end technologies, okay, in the electronic vehicles, solar panels, green energy technologies. We need in the wind turbines, okay, for energy storage devices. Okay, what we need the rare earth elements. Now in the rare earth elements, there are the two problem. Number one, the cost of the carbon cost of mining these rare earth elements is very much high. This entire activity is very polluting, one. Secondly, in the rare earth, there is the hegemony of China. Around 70% of the rare earth supply in the world presently, it is being controlled by the China. China in their own country have the rare earth reserves. Moreover, in another countries also, they have taken the mining leases, particularly in Africa, to mine the rare earth materials. So the China's hegemony into the rare earth material will stay in the coming years. Now when we talk about the rare earth material, such as the yttrium, niobium, rhodium, palladium, osmium, okay, they are particularly more critical, and these asteroids, they are the rich sources of these particular rare materials. Now what can be done? The kick technique can be used to deflect these asteroids to a particular site where they can be harvested for space mining. So this could be there. For example, we can make these asteroids to land on some planet, or let's say to land on, for example, the moon, and their mining can be done and they can be brought. As of now, feasibility of this particular study is being tested. In the future, we'll be able to conclude whether actually it is feasible or not, but this is a kind of a potential future application. So one can tug a mineral rich asteroid near the moon, or establish a space mining factory, okay, and from there these precious minerals can be availed. Okay, so guys, this particular thing, however, in the future will also fuel the space mining technology race. Is it clear or not? And the space economy will become a major thing in the future that will come. Okay, so that is all about this particular article, and this is a very important article. Okay, in the past also this particular article has come in the newspaper. Okay, now again it has come, so please keep it in your mind in GS paper number 3 as well as in the prelims examination. In the prelims examination, this particular applications etc can be used. So that is all about it. Let's move to the next article. Indian deep tech and a case for strategic fund. Indian deep tech and the case for a strategic fund. So this is a very good article, a kind of a very fresh take has been taken on the issues of Indian economy. So we'll see this article. We'll see this article with respect to the GS paper number 3, GS paper number 3, issues related to Indian economy. Issues related to Indian economy. Now, basically guys, the article talks about that today the world, it has seen some of the battlegrounds. So there are the precisely 4 technology battlegrounds there are in the world. Okay, there are the 4 arenas which are very critical. The countries want to have supremacy in these particular sectors, and the countries are fighting. There is a cutthroat competition to get the supremacy in the 4 technological sectors. What is number 1? The semiconductor. Now guys, when we talk about the semiconductor, if you are following regularly, few days back we have taken an entire article on the semiconductor industry, semiconductor potential, what India is doing, what USA is doing. So semiconductor, they are the thumbnail sized chips which give the computational capacity to the electronic equipment. So the computational capacity in computers, in the cars, in other electronic equipments, it is given by the semiconductors. Now these are the core and most critical elements in the present technological world. Then the 5G. So guys, the 5G can open the new possibilities, okay, in the data mining, in the application, okay, in the augmented reality. Then there are the revolutions in biology, okay. So basically guys, there are the DNA, basically in the DNA cloning, okay, in the basically gene mutation, there are the revolutions that are going on. And in autonomy, actually guys, there are the matters, okay, basically automation, okay, and all these particular matters are there. Now understand this particular thing. Now these areas are very much critical, okay, and there can be the military conflict as who will attain the supremacy on this particular thing. Now if you remember, if you might be knowing also, China and Russia on one hand and USA on the one hand, there is an ideological rivalry that is going on. So USA might have an apprehension if the China gains the supremacy in all these particular kind of a matter. So it might can also drive the military conflict. It might impact the health emergencies, natural disasters. Now today, when we talk about the countries, they are moving towards the self-reliance. Even the India is moving towards the Atmanirbharta. Actually, Atmanirbharta, it is not a feel-good slogan. Rather, Atmanirbharta, it is a survival imperative. Every country needs to have a self-reliance in these critical technologies. Otherwise, they'll be dependent on other countries and their supremacy might be impacted. Now, guys, when we talk about these particular areas, investments are needed, but government needs to do more. Though in the past, government has come out with the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan in 2020 and has pushed for the self-reliance into the military technology, semiconductor, science-based businesses. Moreover, recently when we talk about the semiconductor sector, particularly 76,000 crore rupees, around $10 billion production-linked incentive scheme for the semiconductor sector was announced. Okay, but there are two things still. Number one, guys, actually the private sector's investment is very much needed. Venture capital, that is the private venture capital is the pool of money that is invested into the new sectors, that is invested into the new startups. So that is the venture capital, a pool of money with the private sector that will invest in new industries, new startups, new units. So basically private venture capital, it is needed that they should also invest, but actually they will not invest in this particular asset class. Why they will not invest, we'll discuss these particular reasons. And at the same time, government capability is not enough. Government has a limitation, and as a whole, what will happen, this particular sector will be ignored in the times to come. So therefore we need to see it very seriously. Now what can be the solution? The solution can be the India Strategic Fund. India Strategic Fund. Now, India Strategic Fund will be a dedicated fund, and all the money that will be collected in this India Strategic Fund, that particular money will be used to gain the supremacy of India into these 4 technology battlegrounds that I have discussed above. Now, basically, when we talk about India, guys, India has the 10-minute grocery delivery applications. We have the third, we have one of the largest startup ecosystem in the world, but at the same time we don't have the startups, we don't have the technology firms which can rival the 3 very important firms, that is the ARM, NVIDIA and Hawkeye 360. Now, what are they? First of all, ARM, it is a British semiconductor and software design company. Even the Taiwan's TSMC, which is the biggest semiconductor industry, that is something, we don't have any rival to that. Then NVIDIA, it works in artificial intelligence and computer graphics. Okay, it is also transforming the industry. We don't have any competitor of NVIDIA. And the next is Hawkeye 360. Hawkeye 360. It is a American geospatial analytics company. Okay, what is the geospatial information? Information related to a geographical location. So, geospatial analytical firm, that is Hawkeye 360. We don't have any startup, any tech company which can rival them. So, specifically, we need to focus in this particular direction. Okay. Now, moving on in this particular article. Okay. Then moving on, if we talk about the countries, the Western countries such as the US, Israel, okay, and all the countries into the NATO, okay, they are providing the direct funding to the deep technology. Okay, deep technology, cutting edge quantum jump in the capabilities is being provided by these countries. Okay, so they are investing a lot, but we have not invested. There is no collaboration between the academia, there is no collaboration between the production. Okay, this is something. So therefore, first of all, we need to understand that why this bridge remains unbuilt, why we have not focused on this particular issue up till now, and then we'll see what can be the way forward, what can be done. First of all, the reasons. Now see this thing. Basically, the venture capital, private venture capital fund, the pool of the fund, it is cautious when it comes to investing into the deep technology. Fine. And when we talk about the Indian private sector, Indian venture capital funds, they are not even interested to discuss this particular matter. Why they are not interested to discuss the particular matter? Because of the 10-year fund return cycle. So any investor, now guys, you see this thing, you might have seen the Shark Tank. Now the investors there, they are invested that in what time they'll be able to recover the money that they are investing, and the longest time span in this particular direction is 10 years. So they don't want to invest for a long time. Now you see, if the funding will be made into this deep tech industry, the return might come after 20 years, 25 years. So the Indian investors, they don't have such a long appetite. This is one reason. So therefore they are not even discussing. Then the deep technology is always having the dual usages. For example, the global positioning system, GPS can be used for the navigation by the common people. It is used by the food delivery apps, taxi cab apps such as the Uber and Ola, and at the same time it can also be used for the fighter jet navigation missile systems. Okay, and the private sector many times don't want to enter in such kind of a sophisticated and complicated arenas. Is it clear or not? So this is something that has happened. Now guys, in the past, government has come out with some specific schemes so that these bottlenecks can be addressed. First of all, basically government had come out with the Indian semiconductor mission. Now in the Indian semiconductor mission, government is even providing the capital support. So the players who are investing the semiconductor plants, they are also being given the subsidy for the plant and machinery that they are installing, and 76,000 crore rupees funding is being given. So government is supporting the private sector so that they can come in this particular arenas. Then guys, Ministry of Defense, it has come out with the IDX and the TDF schemes where basically where what will happen, the private sector will be nudged that they should come and they should collaborate with the defense and all such kind of things. Okay, so defense and technology collaboration is being opened up. Now there are certain way forwards that can also be discussed. Now these way forwards are actually very much important. Now what are the way forwards? Number one, we can utilize the CSR budgets. Now what is CSR? It stands for corporate social responsibility. Now as per as per the section 135 of the Companies Act 2013. Section 135 of the Companies Act 2013. Basically, the companies A who are having the turnover of 1000 crore rupees or above, B companies having the net worth of 500 crore rupees or above, and C the companies having profit of 5 crore and above. So if any one condition, that is the turnover of 1000 crore or above, net worth of 500 crore or above, or the profit of 5 crore or above, if any one condition is applicable on a corporate, then the corporate, as per the section 135 of Companies Act, has to contribute 2% of their average last 3 years profit in the CSR, corporate social responsibility. This particular money will be used for the purposes such as educating the girl child. It will be used for fighting of some of the disease such as the HIV disease or many such other kind of a disease. This particular money can be used for the environmental restoration. So this particular CSR money is to be given. Now guys, when we talk about the CSR budget, the money that is being collected by the CSR, it is around 15,000 crore rupees. It is around 15,000 crore rupees. Now actually many of the companies, they are putting aside the CSR money, but they are not able to use that entire CSR funding. So substantial portion of the CSR, it goes unutilized. Okay, and when we talk about guys CSR traditionally has been used for the social sector only, as I told you, educating the girl child, eradication of some disease and all such kind of a thing. Now we need to rethink the CSR. The CSR should be used even for the strategic purposes, and therefore a particular portion of the CSR should be used in the India strategic fund that we have discussed. It should be used into the India strategic fund. So CSR money should go in India strategic fund, and this India strategic fund money should be invested in the technological battlegrounds, that is the semiconductor, 5G industry, automation and all such kind of thing. Is it clear or not? Then the second way forward that has been given is the high net worth individuals. Okay, they can be offered tax incentives to make equity investment in the critical technology startups. I told you guys that the venture capitals, private venture capitals, they are right now not interested in investing this particular thing. So what we can do, we can identify some of the high net worth individuals, and we can say that okay, if you invest some of investment into these technological sectors such as the semiconductor industry, etc., you'll be given some tax benefits. So by that also they can come. So guys, these are some of the two way forwards, and very excellent way forward and a different way forward that has been provided. Now at the same time, it has also been provided to prevent the misuse of the fund. It is important to create qualifying criteria. Okay, basically it has been provided that the companies in which these high net individuals, HNIs, the companies in which these HNIs will be investing, they need to be the companies that are recognized by the government of India, or the startups that have been recognized. Not only any sector, only the recognized sectors, the money is to be invested. Then after guys understand this particular thing, after that India, as we have already started the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan in 2020, but for the foreseeable future, for times to come, India will still be the importer of the critical technologies. Now, if we need to stop that import in the coming decade, we need to take the step immediately. Is it clear or not? So we need to take the step, and we need to correctly align all these particular programs. So the CSR initiative, fine, tax incentive initiative for HNI, it is need to be aligned properly. Okay, and that is something that we need to focus upon. Even the Prime Minister has shared the ambition of developing the deep critical technology mission. So this is something which should be done. Okay, fine guys, so that is all about this particular article, and this is actually a very good and a very fresh kind of an article that has come on this particular issue. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Okay, and yes, I'll rate this particular article as a 5-star article. I'll rate this particular article as a 5-star article for your examination. Now, do not ignore the role of women livestock farmer. Now, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, GS paper number 3, GS paper number 3 as well as GS paper number 2. In GS paper number 2, there are the women issues. Just a minute. In GS paper number 2, there are the women issues, and GS paper number 3, issues related to the agriculture sector, issues related to the animal husbandry has been mentioned. Okay, so this article is talking about the animal husbandry sector, okay, agriculture and the women, okay, even the women and the labor force participation rate, female labor force participation rate happens to be an important topic in GS paper number 3. So there also it can be used. Okay, there are some of the doubts that has come. Let me answer that also. Okay, I am following the news analysis and taking notes of it. Okay, do I need to read the newspaper separately? Okay guys, see this particular thing. When we talk about this newspaper analysis, in the newspaper analysis, basically see here the note that I am giving you. In this particular note, all the points that have been covered in this particular article, it has been picked up directly from there, and some value addition, way forward and background that is needed to be given separately, that is also given. Is it clear or not? So one thing I want to say, that if you are following the newspaper analysis, for sure all the articles that have come in the newspaper will be covered. Okay, that is a guarantee. Not even a single article will be left out. Okay, because we see the paper from page number 1 to the page number last, and we take up all the articles. Okay, so exam relevant articles I am talking about, they will be covered. However, reading is a good habit. Reading is a good habit. You can do that particular thing, but again, it purely depends on the time and your present situation. Okay, so if you have very good reading skills already, then you can skip it also. Okay, but otherwise I personally will suggest that reading is a good habit you should do, but all the things anyhow in our newspaper analysis will be covered. Okay, so I hope that you can understand it. Now let's take this particular article. Okay, okay, now guys, when we talk about the livestock sector which concerns the cattle rearing, dairy, milch animals, the animals that give the milk, the livestock sector, it is one of the rapidly growing components of the rural economy of India. Now the rural economy, the agrarian economy, it is driven by the livestock sector. Now when we talk about guys the livestock sector, there are so much of the data that has been given in this article, and this data can directly be used in the GS paper number 3. Number 1, okay, 5% of the national income, 5% of the national income and 28% of the agricultural GDP in 2018 and 19, it came from the livestock sector. So it plays a very important role in the national income as well as even into the agricultural contribution in the India's GDP. Now the growth into the livestock sector has been much higher than the growth in the agriculture sector. Now the livestock sector grew at 7.9% and the crop farming grew at only 2%. So crop farming grew at 2% and livestock at around 8%. So this is a very good and promising growth that has been there. Now basically guys, the October 15, that is the today, it is being observed as the International Day for the Rural Women. Now the rural women, they had actually contributed significantly in the economy as well as the agrarian economies, but many a times or most of the times their contributions are not acknowledged. So when we talk about the women, they are engaged in the animal rearing. Okay, they play a very important role into all such kind of a things, but in breeding, veterinary care, extension services, training the women who are working in the livestock sector, providing them credit to banks, providing them institutional credit, providing them connection with the market, it is most of the times is missing. So women are contributing in livestock farming. Okay, they are working there, but they are not provided these facilities. Okay, now basically guys, when we talk about India, I just explain you the phenomena of feminization of agriculture. So feminization of agriculture means that today more and more women has shifted to agriculture. Now why the feminization of agriculture happened in India? Number 1 guys, first of all, Traditionally, the women have played a very important role in agriculture, and now because of the migrations of the male members that is happening to the urban centers, urban towns, women are left behind in the villages, and therefore they are playing an important role in the agriculture. Now as we talk about the urbanization, it is increasing every year. By 2030, according to Niti Aayog, 40% of India will be living into the urban center. So there is a rapid urbanization, and in that, women who had left behind at their home, they are playing an role into the agriculture sector. So today guys, basically when we talk about the rural areas, 72% women, 72% women in the rural areas, they are involved in the agriculture activities, agriculture sector. Okay, this is one fact. But at the same time, their participation is not documented in government report. Their participation doesn't reflects. Guys, when we talk about, some sectors are there where good performance is there. For example, dairy cooperatives such as Amul, okay, milk marketing, okay, women's role in the women's role into the livestock sector is recognized here. But other areas, other documents, other activities of livestock farming which is unorganized, their women's role is not acknowledged. Okay, women accounted for 31% of all members of the dairy producer corporation in 2020-2021. Now basically, the conventional labor force surveys. Now what are the labor force surveys? They track what is the nature of employment in which people are, how many percentage of people are employed, what type of wages they are getting, and all such kind of a thing. So labor force surveys are done from time to time. There are many types of surveys. Okay, there is employment unemployment survey, there is periodic labor force survey. Now the periodic labor force survey is one of the most important one, which is done by the NSO under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So many of the labor surveys are there, okay, but they don't recognize the women's work in the livestock sector. Why? Reason number one, okay, basically there is a sporadic nature of work undertaken for a short spell throughout the day. Okay, so for example, animal rearing or taking care of the cattle, okay, you do it in bits and pieces throughout the day. So it is not reported most of the time as a singular activity by the women themselves. Secondly, women are working in the animal rearing in their homesteads, in their homes, even the women are working. So that activity is not many times calculated by the government data. Is it clear or not? Moreover guys, even the women are not reporting the animal rearing as an economic activity. Women most of the time think that it is a part of their household duty. Okay, rearing the animals, it is a part of their household duty. So livestock raising as an economic activity is not reported by the women. So these are the three issues by which their contribution is not acknowledged most of the times. These are the three issues. Now the article further talks about that actually there is a need that what we can do. We first of all need to focus on government data, government statistics, that their contribution is noted. In this particular thing, it's being provided that we need to calculate the augmented work surveys. What is augmented work surveys? Okay, it has been provided that in addition to women reporting themselves as engaged in economic activity, this estimate includes women who reported as themselves as engaged in domestic duty or the care work also, they should be included. Now you see this thing basically. Now guys, when we talk about the activity, when we talk about the work activity, just a minute, I'll explain the concept. When we talk about the work activity, now there could be the economic work activity, and then there can be non-economic, or you can say the domestic work activity. Now basically, let's take the role of our mothers. Okay, our mothers, they cook food for us, they do a lot of domestic household work most of the times. Now if you ask the mothers that okay, what you will call these kind of works that you are doing, they'll not say that this is a kind of an economic activity that we are doing and we should be paid for this thing. They'll say that it is our responsibility, even we don't pay to our mothers, our wives, and the women in our house who are actually doing this particular particular domestic work, and even they'll not say that it is an economic activity. It is generally considered as an economic activity if you are employed by some person, you are going to an office, there you are doing some work, that activity is called as an economic activity. Now understand, many of the women in the rural areas who are doing the animal rearing, who are doing the cattle rearing, they are doing that particular activity and they don't see it as an economic activity. Even that particular activity is seen as a domestic activity. Okay, women will say rearing the cattle, cleaning the cattle is their domestic work only. So in economic duties it is not being reported. So here the augmented, here the role of the, just a minute, here the role of the augmented work definition comes. It says that okay, include the women who themselves are reporting that they are involved in economic activity, and if there is an economic activity of livestock rearing, and even the women who say that we are engaged in domestic duty, the women who say that we are involved into the care work, okay, those women's proportion, those women's number should also be included into the definition of the women involved into the livestock sector. So enhanced definition is needed for this particular thing. Then after that guys, the article, now again I have told you that some very good data have been given by the article again and again. Article says that the 12 million rural women, okay, they are working in the livestock raising. Okay, 12 million women are involved into the livestock rearing. Now employment and unemployment survey of 2011 and 12, okay, on the basis of augmented definition says that actually there are 49 million rural women who are engaged in livestock raising. Now what is the discrepancy? So if we see, if we ask the women that okay, what is your what the work you are doing, women will report that we are doing the economic activity and the economic activity of raising livestock. Only 12 million such women have given such a response. But when we see the on the basis of augmented definition, then we get actually 49 million women are there. So the difference between 12 to 49 million, these are the women who don't report the livestock work that they are doing. Okay, they don't consider it as an economic thing. Now basically in 2019 India's time use survey was conducted. Now what is a time use survey guys? This is the first time that it happened in 2019. Basically this time use survey wanted to see that where the people in India they spend most of the time. So basically over the 24 hours the activities of the respondents was tracked, and on that particular basis the patterns were drawn that okay, how percentage of how much amount of time the male is giving in care work, how much amount of time female are giving into the care work, okay, and in the care work what type of work they are doing. So in this time use survey it was found that in the 24 hours, okay, 11% of rural women, which means 48 million women are engaged in animal rearing. So two datas, okay, employment unemployment survey of 2011-12 on augmented definition, enhanced definition, as well as the time use survey, okay, of 2019 has confirmed that around 48 to 49 million women are involved into the livestock sector. Now the article says that the foundation, a survey that was conducted by Foundation for Agrarian Studies, it says that every household that owned a milch animals mean animal that gives milk. So every household that owns the milch animal, in that particular household the women spends around 2 hours on a day on that animal rearing, and sometimes women spend around 7 to 8 hours, okay, and it depends on to the factors, the health of the animal, the condition of the household, the number of animals that particular household is having. Now in India, in the past we have though come out with some of the important initiatives. For example, National Livestock Policy 2013 was announced. It aimed at increasing the livestock productivity, okay, and it at the same time it was recognized that 70% of the labor, okay, in the livestock sector comes from women. 70% of the labor in the livestock sector comes from women. Okay, then there was also the National Livestock Mission that was initiated for the development of the livestock sector, but they have not specifically talked about the women's welfare. They had not specifically mentioned that okay, how or what should be done to enhance the condition of the women. So neither the National Livestock Policy nor the National Livestock Mission has specifically provided, okay, for the women farmers, okay, they have not proposed that particular thing. Now There are certain core issues that are needed to be addressed. Number one, periodic labor force survey. It has failed to collect the data on the women's activity, particularly the labor force for the labor activities women into livestock sector. So the labor force survey are needed to be reformed. They are to be reformed in such a way so that the women data is collected by that. After that, guys, the extension services to the women livestock farmers are not reaching. Now, what are the extension services? Basically, guys, women need to be given training that how effectively they can raise the cattle. They need to be given the training about some of the common diseases that impact the livestock. Okay, the feed management, how properly taking care. Okay, in some such scientific assessments are to be given to the women. So, women farmers, women agrarians are there, but they are not being given the extension services. Now, it being provided that actually when we talk about, guys, the agriculture, the loan for the livestock loans that are being given, many of them are not being given to the women. Now you see this particular thing. Basically, it has been provided that around 15 lakh new Kisan credit cards were provided to the livestock farmers. Now, Kisan credit card, it is a kind of basically under the Kisan credit card, the farmers are given a kind of a credit so that they can use money for the critical inputs. So 15 lakh Kisan credit cards are given to the livestock farmers, but how many of them were women? This data is not there, and there can be a possibility that majority of the Kisan credit cards for the livestock sector, etc., that has been given, it is actually given to the male farmers. Then next, it's provided that the women, they lack technical knowledge. For example, they don't have knowledge on the choice of the animals, veterinary care. Okay, now all the productivity of all the animals are not same, so the choice of animals, veterinary care that is needed. Okay, they don't have the information about that particular thing. Moreover, women are not aware about the dairy boards, okay, about the schemes that are there for the women farmers. So these are some areas that are needed to be addressed, and by addressing these particular areas, the women's role in the livestock sector, women's contribution in the livestock sector can be effectively be acknowledged. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope that you have understood this entire issue effectively, and again I'll say that this is again a very important issue which is intersecting two of the issues, GS paper number 2 women issue and GS paper number 3 livestock sector issue of India. So that is all about this particular article, guys, and now we'll move to the next article. No time for placebo. No time for placebo. Now, what this particular article is all about, guys? This article actually is talking about a recent issue that happened. So you might have heard in the news, that there was that what happened. You might have heard into the news that there was one of a pharmaceutical company which was based in Haryana, Maiden Pharmaceuticals. That company exported the cough syrup to Gambia, and there many of the children died after consuming that cough syrup. So after that particular thing, there was a kind of a very big international controversy that happened, and in this particular direction now the CDSCO has taken some of the steps. Now, guys, actually I was specifically waiting of an academic article only on this particular line, because you don't need to track that how many number of children died and all such kind of things. Only academic issues are something that you need to see. Now, this particular article will see with respect to the drug sector related issue, okay, in GS paper number 2, as well as in GS paper number 3, this particular issue will be seen. Okay. Now, basically, guys, when we talk about this present issue, recently the India's drug regulator, that is the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, CDSCO, it has banned the Maiden Pharmaceuticals Limited from manufacturing the medicinal drugs. Now, the Maiden Pharmaceutical was the company which had exported the cough syrup to the Gambia where the children died. So it has been banned. Now, we don't need to specifically restrict on this one particular pharmaceutical company. Rather, we need to see this entire issue. Holistically. Now, first of all, for the prelims examination, guys, when we talk about India, the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, CDSCO, it is India's national regulator. On three things. Number one, cosmetics. It is national regulator on three things: cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and medical devices. Medical devices such as the pacemakers, implants, and all such kind of a thing. Now, within the CDSCO, that is the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, there is the Drug Controller and General of India. there is the Drug Controller General of India. Now, Drug Controller General of India, it specifically regulates two, that is the pharmaceutical and medical devices. And this entire CDSCO, Drug Controller General of India, they come under which ministry? They come under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Clear or not? Now, that is something that has happened. Now, the license of that errant drug manufacturer, pharmaceutical manufacturer, has been suspended, and the detailed report by the WHO will be submitted, and after that particular detailed report, further course of action will be taken. Now, you was only for the exam, you need to understand that why this particular incident happened. So, basically the cough syrups, they were contaminated with diethyl glycol. Now, the diethyl glycol, it is a toxic substance, and if its proportion increases in a kind of a medicine or in a kind of a syrup or anything, it becomes fatal. Now, guys, what happened? The composition of this particular cough syrup was such that it led to enhanced concentration of the diethyl glycol. Okay, apart from the diethyl glycol, now see this DEG, okay, it is important one. Apart from that, there was also the ethylene glycol, whose concentration increased, and what happened because of this particular thing? There was the kidney failure. That happened, and by that particular thing, these deaths have happened. But the complete full report will be given by WHO, and then it will establish a clear-cut link. Now, as of now, guys, when we talk about India's Drug and Drug and Cosmetic Act, okay, to deal with all these particular kind of matters, there is the Drug and Cosmetic Act. Okay, now under the provision of the Drug and Cosmetic Act, there are the provisions that if such kind of incidents happened, that on the manufacturers, or if the manufacturer has made the adulterated drugs, okay, there can be imprisonment up to 10 years, as well as there can be the fine up to 10 lakh rupees. Is it clear or not? Then this is something that has been the case. Now, in this particular incident, we find this thing that in past also such incidents have happened. Fine. For example, in 2020, there were the cough syrups that were made by a kind of another pharmaceutical which was Himachal Pradesh based. There also some of the children died. Okay. Then in the past, even this particular pharmaceutical that has come in this case, okay, this pharmaceutical recently got banned in Kerala, and in Tamil Nadu also it was flagged because of its substandard quality. So, what the point we are raising? The point that we are raising is that already there is Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Already there is the Drugs and Cosmetics Act number 1. Number 2, already there is the CDSCO. Number 3, there is the Drug Controller General of India. There is Drug Controller General of India. But in the past, the pharmaceuticals providing such substandard products have existed. Even the incidents have happened into the past, but nothing much have happened. Now, this is something which have global repercussions. Today, when we talk about India, India happens to be the world's largest generic drug manufacturer. Okay, India is one of the largest drug manufacturer. Okay, and at that point of a time, such kind of incidents will not be good for India. Moreover, in the India's export potential, the exports of the drugs happens to be something very, very important. Fine. So, therefore, we need to specifically take these particular issues seriously, and on this particular matter, some urgent interventions are to be made. Is it clear or not? So, therefore, India need to work harder and need to have an impartial and independent regulator that can be trusted internationally. Fine. So, this is about this entire issue. Okay, this is about entire issue. I hope that you have understood this entire article. Okay, now we'll move to the next article. Okay, so let's see if there are some doubt. Okay, everything except your pronunciation is good. Okay, everything except your pronunciation is good. Okay, guys, one thing I want to tell here. See, actually, I am not a teacher for English. I am not a teacher for English. Okay. Sometimes there might be the case that there might be some grammatical errors. There might be some kind of issues in that particular kind of a thing. But actually I'm not even concerned on that particular matter, because what I'm concerned about is to give the quality content, because that is something which I am more concerned. And even if you are preparing for the UPSC exam, you might be knowing that issue also. So yes, there can be sometimes the issues in grammar, in pronunciation, but that is not my foray. For me, and actually for every practical purpose, English is, I think, just a medium for communication. Okay, English is a language, English is not a skill. In India, we have an absurd obsession that we see English as a skill and not a language. Okay, and a language only serves the purpose for exchange of ideas. Fine. So I just believe it a medium for the exchange of ideas. Fine. There can be certain issues. I'll try to improve that also. Okay, thank you. Now, will electoral bonds reveal the source of funds? Supreme Court asks the center. Now, this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 2, electoral issues, okay. Now, this article will see with respect to the electoral issues. Now guys, first of all, before going in this particular article, we'll discuss some of the background. Okay. Now, what have happened in the past? Electoral bond scheme was announced. By the government. Okay, by a finance bill that was brought in 2017. Okay, an electoral bond scheme was announced. Now, what are they? So, these are simply the instruments by which you can fund to a political party. These are the bearer instruments. I'll give you just one example, and by this example, you'll understand this issue. Suppose this is Mr. A. And Mr. A want to fund any political party, let's say the XYZ political party it wants to fund. Now, Mr. A can go to a notified bank. As of now, which are the notified banks? As of now, the State Bank of India has been notified by the government of India. So, the Mr. A will go to the State Bank of India, will make the payment to the State Bank of India. That payment is to be made either by the check or by account or by any other financial instrument. That money is to be paid, and the State Bank of India will issue an electoral bond. This electoral bond Mr. A can give to the XYZ political party. On this electoral bond, the name of Mr. A will not be written. Nothing identity of Mr. A will be written. So this electoral bond will be given to XYZ political party. This political party will redeem this particular electoral bond in their bank account, and the money will be credited in their account. Okay. Now, the government has given the justification that by this electoral bond scheme, the black money, okay, or the basically dirty money that is many times coming into the election. Why? Understand this particular thing. Basically, when we talk about elections, the money can be donated even into the cash form. Okay, the political parties, the money can be donated to them in the cash also. And many a time when the cash donations are there, okay, these cash donations are the black money. They are the money which some dubious origins. Fine. So to restrict the cash donations for the political parties, the electoral bond scheme was announced. Now, the electoral bonds, they are the interest-free banking instruments. It means that no interest will be generated on them. Okay, I have, let's say, bought an electoral bond. I keep that electoral bond for few months before donating it. No interest will be generated on them. Now, these electoral bonds can be bought at the specific branches of the State Bank of India, and in multiple of 1,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh and 1 crore rupees, these electoral bonds can be brought. Now, since the electoral bond scheme has been launched, it has been criticized a lot. Actually, Election Commission in 2017, after the launch of this electoral bond scheme, provided that this particular scheme will have much of the issues. Fine. How? Basically, now the XYZ political party say this thing that okay, we got 100 crore rupees by the electoral bond. Now the political party will say that we don't know actually who donated the money. Now, in this particular issue, there is always an unfair advantage to the ruling government. Why and how? The State Bank of India, we all know that it is a government bank, and the ruling government can always know by the State Bank of India that actually who was this Mr. A who had donated the money. But the other parties, they cannot know that particular thing. The parties who are not in the ruling, they cannot know this particular thing. Moreover, it has also been provided that many a times the political parties are just shunning away their responsibility when the origin of the money that came to them, it is to be shown. This is something that has come. The opposition parties in the past, they have said that electoral bond scheme, it allows electoral bond schemes, it allows large anonymous donation to political parties, okay, and it will undermine the essence of democracy. Now after this electoral bond scheme, there is one more development that happened. Now you see, the corporate donations. Now I'll explain this particular point. Earlier there was a limit on corporate donation. Now suppose there is a corporate by the name of ABC Corporation. ABC Corporation. Now a corporation can donate maximum of 7.5% of their profit to a political party. Okay. Now what has been done? Even this 7.5% limit have been removed. It means that if a corporate wants even the 100% of their money, 100% of the money they can give to a political party. Now there is a kind of an allegation that has been made. What is this allegation? Allegation is something like this, that there will be the bogus corporates that will be established, and the black money, okay, the money with the dubious sources, that money will be routed to this particular corporate, and this particular corporate will show this entire money as their profit, and then all these particular profits will be given to a political party by the way of the electoral bond, and the political party will not even reveal the identity of this particular party or this particular company who had donated to them. This is something that's the issue. So basically these electoral bonds, fine, they have been criticized a lot. In 2021, the Association of Democratic Reforms, they have stated that 70% of the income of the political party is now coming through unknown sources, and in that unknown sources electoral bonds are there, and out of this more than 3300 crore rupees of funding that came to the political party, 88% income came from the electoral bond. So anonymous funding, the funding whose original source is not very much clear, it's coming into the elections. So therefore the electoral bond scheme has been questioned, that whether they are constitutionally valid or not. Now this particular matter is going on, and now what has happened, Supreme Court has asked the center that how you'll justify the electoral bond scheme. Okay, how you'll justify that the electoral bond scheme is absolutely transparent? This question has been asked. Now there are the criticisms that it will violate the article number 324. It will violate the article number 324. Now what is article number 324? Under article 324, the constitution has provided the power to the Election Commission of India that they can go for superintendents, they can issue the directions for the control of elections to the parliament, state legislature. So superintendents, supervision of elections can be carried by Election Commission as per the provisions of article 324. Now the provisions of article 324 aims to bring the fair and free elections in India. Now how the elections will be fair if we don't know the source of the funding that is coming to a political party? So the fair elections might get impacted by this particular thing. So this is something that has happened. Now the Supreme Court, fine, just let's read this particular first few lines. Supreme Court on Friday asked the government whether the electoral bond reveals the source of money pumped to political party. Okay, how it reveals? Now obviously it doesn't reveal. So now the Supreme Court has asked the question that okay, how it reveals or whether it reveals or not. So this particular matter is going on, but up till now nothing concrete ruling has come on this matter. It from a long time this matter is pending, that whether the electoral bond will be constitutionally permissible or not, but nothing has come. So that is all about this article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. INS Arihant carries out key missile test. Fine. So basically when we talk about, guys, INS Arihant, it is country's first ballistic nuclear submarine. Okay, now I'll discuss some more concepts also, but this particular article will be important for the prelims examination. It will be important for the prelims examination as well as in GS paper number 3, indigenization of defense, GS paper number 3, even science and tech. This particular article will be important. Fine. Now first let's discuss the concept of nuclear triad. Now what a nuclear triad is? Nuclear triad means a structure a structure of a country's defense capabilities, where the country has the capabilities to carry the nuclear attack through three modes. They should be able to make the land based nuclear missiles can be launched, okay, nuclear missiles through armed submarines can be launched, and third, nuclear missiles through the strategic aircrafts, okay, can be made. So if a country can make a nuclear attack through land, through air, and through submarines, then that country has completed the nuclear triad. Now, when we talk about India, India has already completed the nuclear triad. Why? Because the Arihant's entry had completed the nuclear triad. Today we have capabilities that we can make the nuclear attack from all the three modes: the land, the air, and the water. Clear? And today when we talk about, India has entered actually in the club of few countries which have the nuclear triad capabilities: US, France, Britain, China, Russia. Okay, so we have the nuclear triad capabilities. Today we have capability to design, build, as well as operate nuclear powered ballistic missiles, submarines, or the ship submersible ballistic nuclear uh, submarines, that is the SSBN. Okay, so today we have the capabilities to develop the SSBN. Now, recently what has happened, the first ballistic missile nuclear submarine INS, it has carried a successful launch of a missile, and it has validated India's second strike nuclear capability. Now, what is the second strike nuclear capability? See, India's nuclear policy is NFU, that is no first use. It means India will not first use its nuclear capabilities, India will not carry the first attack. But many number of times the no first use has been questioned. It's being said that will India be even having the capacity if first attack has been made on India? Can we make a second strike? So for the second strike, we need to have the capabilities which are spread across the regions. For example, we need to have submarines which can make the second strike if some attack happens. Okay, so therefore now the Arihant has successfully carried a missile test, and it successfully proves that yes, India has a very successful second strike capability. Okay, so this is something that has come in this particular article. Okay, so that is all guys about it, and these nuclear triads and all these things, this is something that you need to know, fine, though not provided in the article. Now moving the next article, let's take the mains practice question for today. Okay, so today's mains practice question, it's from the GS paper number 3, fine. The question reads, today women livestock workers remain invisible on account of their absence in official statistics. Highlight the reasons why women livestock farmers are not visible to policy makers. Also discuss how this issue can be corrected. So this question will be from GS paper number 3, and it will be a 15 marker question, the role of the women in the livestock sector, in the animal husbandry sector. So that is all guys about this, and I hope that you have understood this entire issue. Fine. Now guys, we'll be meeting on Monday, and till then please take care of yourselves. Okay, please keep Sunday as a day for revision, because on the Sunday anyhow the editorials are not there, text and context doesn't comes. Okay, and the lifestyle etc pages are there which are not very much important for the exam. Moreover, if there will be some important thing, we'll cover that also on the Monday. So please keep Sundays as a day of revision, consolidation, because without revision, fine, without revision, the reproduction in the exam might not be possible. So please focus on revision also. That's all for today, and now we'll be meeting on Monday. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.